Buenas, Ori Carmona, abogados con experiencia. Accidentes, no hay problema. Llama al 702-999-0000. Hi there. Today we have an incredible guest on the podcast that I have worked with her staff, and I've worked with her for many years. And now, after her extensive experience in our assembly and our legislation and Toro University, Shelly Berkeley for mayor. Shelly, welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm very well, and thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, I couldn't wait. When I was talking to Judy Fleischman, of course, a mutual friend of ours, I was like, please let Shelly know, because I didn't have your contact information, and I didn't just want to make a cold call and think, hey, where's this woman coming from?
Well, the cold call would have been great anyway, but I love Judy Fleischman. As you know, she worked for me when I served in Congress for many, many years, and we're very, very close friends. I love her.
So now, my questions to you go from past to present and maybe into the future. In the past, and at the legislative session, I believe you served from 1980, what?
It was, I first ran.
89?
No, 82.
82. Okay, through 2013 or something like that.
Oh, no, you mean in Congress?
Yes.
Yes. I was elected in 98.
Okay.
And I finished my service for the people of Southern Nevada, Congressional District 1, in 2013.
Yes, because we worked together on the first Women of Color Conference.
We
were
surely
just
did.
talking. In 2007, Deborah Nelson from the MGM and Victoria Annapolis from the Latin Chamber at the time. And I'm talking now, we're all 20 years later.
Yes.
Let's just not say our ages, but...
it's okay. We've earned these ages.
You know, this is what I say. That's why I wear my gray proudly. It's like, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, it looks
but
great.
Shelly, getting back now, from when you were at the legislative session many moons ago to what it is now, what have you seen that is the biggest difference, the biggest obstacle, or one of our biggest advantages or achievements that we've been able to do as a state?
Well, I haven't been in Congress for 10 years, but I can say that as a citizen, I am appalled by what I am seeing. The divisiveness, the extreme partisanship, the lack of getting anything substantive done for the American people is disappointing as an American citizen. And I just don't understand why you would run for office if A, you don't believe in our democracy, B, you don't want to get things accomplished for the people of this remarkable country, and C, you're not committed to get up every morning and do your best to do your job. And I mean, these are not lifetime appointments. You get elected to do something. And I have to say that we got much accomplished while I was in Congress, although there were a number of challenges. I was in Congress during 9/11 and during the Iraq War and so many other crises that our country weathered. But I'm beginning to think that we are our own worst enemy and that we need to stop misbehaving as elected officials and just do the job. That's it.
That's it. I agree with you. That's what we get paid for when, just as a regular person in workforce development. And if you don't do your job, you get fired. So if you're not doing your job, we don't reelect you. And that's the importance of going out to vote. Now,
the most important thing we can do as American citizens is exercise our right to vote. People have died for that right. People have given their lives for that right. And for people to be cavalier about it and not vote, and also for some of a number of states are imposing restrictions on voting rather than make it as easy as possible, as long as there are certain protections to protect from fraud, which there are. but I think you make it as easy as possible to permit and allow your fellow citizens to exercise their right as an American citizen.
I totally agree. As a Cuban American that I arrived in 1967, one of my biggest, proudest moment was when I became an American citizen.
Of course
And I'll
it
never
was.
forget the date, November 11th of 1979.
Right around Veterans Day.
Exactly.
That was a
And
biggie.
it was in the Miami-Dade Auditorium. And my mom was there, and well, of course, she was crying and bawling
course.
because I was the first American citizen in the family. And regardless, I wear it proud. I wear it
I
proud
know.
because this country offered me the opportunity that Cuba would
Couldn't,
never have
wouldn't.
and still doesn't.
Right, and
So,
how sad for the Cuban people
Oh.
who are so remarkable, and we're very blessed. I guess the unintended consequence of Castro's regime and that which has followed is that so many Cubans immigrated to the United States, came to the United States, and so many are here in Southern Nevada. Just makes our community better and more exciting and more fun.
diversify.
Diversify.
I've always
and
s-
look, that's my background in a very similar way. My grandparents on both sides of the family immigrated to the United States. If they hadn't, when they did, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you because we would have been exterminated in the Holocaust. So for us, and I know you share this and the Cuban people share this, America was the beacon of freedom for all of us. It gave us a chance not only to survive, which we did, but to thrive in this remarkable country.
and continue our culture.
Yes.
Be able to speak our language. Be able to listen to our music. Be able to eat our ethnic foods. And that's what Las Vegas is all about.
Oh,
Anywhere you go,
yes.
there's all sorts of different foods, different people, and definitely the city. Let's go into the city now. It's incredible how downtown has grown and has changed. I moved here in 1982.
Uh-huh.
My first job was at the Mint Hotel and Casino. And I'm sure you remember the Mint
I
500.
do indeed. I do.
That was one of
indeed.
the biggest events. They closed up
Huge.
Fremont. And then the second biggest issue at the time that downtown was experiencing is the cruising on Fremont.
I used to cruise. I was a cruiser. I went to Valley High School. My family came here in 1963. My father was a waiter when I was growing up for upstate New York, and he was having a very hard time making a living to support his family. So one night he put my sister and I and the dog in the back seat of our car, parents in the front seat. Everything we owned was in a U-Haul hooked up to the back bumper. Drove across country, middle of the summer, no air conditioning, of course. Back in those days, only rich people
Who
had
had air conditioner in the cars.
If their car could even have air conditioning. And my dad had a letter of introduction to get a job as a waiter in Southern California. We got to Hoover Dam, and there are signs, they're probably still there. Yeah, Las Vegas, 30 miles. So since I thought my parents were so old, they were 31 and 34 at the time, but they wanted us, we never knew if we'd be coming back east again. My father didn't have a job. He had a promise of a job. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. It was summertime, so my sister and I
Weren't in school.
Weren't in school. As far as we knew, the dog had no plans. So we decided to stop in Vegas for the night. We never left. And I guess one of these days we're going to unpack the U-Haul because we're staying. I thought my parents took me to hell. As God is my witness, it was so hot. We're from upstate New York. There's a breeze. It's nice. It's
There's an
humid.
ocean nearby.
Well, no.
No,
there
that's
were
true.
mountains,
Not near, yeah.
But I couldn't leave the apartment. We stayed for a few days. My dad went down to the culinary union to sign up, and we rented an apartment for 1 month. And I couldn't leave the apartment. It was so stiflingly hot. I thought I would die. And then I started school at John C. Fremont Junior High School.
Oh, wow, Fremont.
Fremont.
Have you seen how they rebuilt
Yes,
Fremont Middle School?
I have.
Okay, so I used to drive by there every day for 20 years
yeah.
to the state agency. And I was like, my God, that school is just, it's so old. And one day out of nowhere. It was down. Now it's an incredible facility.
I am so happy to hear that. I was there for the maybe the 60th anniversary. I spoke. They invited all of those people,
Alums.
all of us that had gone to John C. Fremont. So the bleachers were full, and I got up and said a few words at the time. And my guidance counselor back in the 60s was still there.
No.
Yes, and he presented me with a picture that I had taken, a class picture from back in, I think, 1965 or something. It was just great, but it really needed renovating because it was old when I went.
It was time to fix incredible. Up. Well, that just goes to show how cemented you are in our community.
I have pretty strong roots in this community.
And now running for mayor. My gosh, what an incredible achievement, correct?
I am very excited about the prospect of being mayor of my hometown of Las Vegas. There have been now 4 generations of my family here, and we made a life for ourselves in the middle of the desert. Eventually, and I'll continue my story, of course, I started school, and then the rest was history for me. I loved it. My father was sent to the Old Sands Hotel as a waiter in the coffee shop. And by the time he retired, when the Sands was imploded, he was a maitre d' for many years, but he was the longest serving employee at the Sands. And so he, 33 years at the Sands, it gave us a wonderful life. And I always say on a waiter's salary, my dad put a roof over our head, food on the table, clothes on our back, 2 daughters through college and me through law school. Not bad on a waiter's salary.
No, not at all. And that was old Vegas. I'm sure
Vegas.
And I'm sure you have. We can talk here probably for hours, all the stories that you may have from, the days of, because the Sands was the hub of the Rat Pack.
Yes.
So
my dad had great stories because when the Rat Pack was at its zenith, my dad was a waiter in the Copa Room, and he's got remarkable stories about Sinatra, where Sinatra wanted those the little cocktail tables for 2. He wanted one on the stage, so my dad put it on the stage for him, and the next morning there was an envelope with $500. In those days, might as well have been $5,000. Another time, and this is back when my dad was waitering in the Garden Room, which was the place that was known for Chinese food. Apparently, Sinatra ruled. I mean, he was he really was chairman of the board. It was known that he hated mushrooms, didn't want to see them, didn't want them on his plate. And in those days, the Garden Room, white glove service with the silver domes on the plates. And so my dad, Sinatra was holding court, and they ordered, everything on the menu. My dad came out with one of the silver dome platters, put it in front of Sinatra, opened up.
It was mushrooms.
There was mushrooms in it.
Lord.
Sinatra gets up, grabs a fork, and starts chasing my father around the coffee shop, ran into the kitchen, and my dad is running, and he turns around finally. He said, "Mr. Sinatra," he says, "I'm not a fighter, I'm a lover." At which time Sinatra threw down the fork, grabbed my dad, gave him the biggest hug, and then the next day also there was an envelope with several $100 in it.
What a great story.
And my dad had many, many more. He was interviewed towards the end of his life because he lived till he was 93.
Wow.
Most of the maitre d's, the original maitre d's in all of the major hotels had already passed. So my dad was still around, and he was interviewed by everyone from UNLV's library. So there's a nice section where he talked about his experiences. Junior League, has been memorializing the history of Las Vegas. So my dad became quite the celebrity on the Old Vegas circuit because everybody wanted to talk to him about Old Vegas.
Definitely. Well, like I said, when I came in 82, after the Mint, I worked at the Desert Inn.
Oh, I cocktailed at the Desert Inn.
When?
No. I take it back. I ran Keno at the Desert Inn. It was either 1971 or 72. I had just turned 21.
Okay.
And they were wearing the white go-go boots and a little pink ruffly outfit, and that was
The Keno outfit.
The Keno outfit.
You know, one of the things that, and then we'll get back to your candidacy and everything else, but real
Yes.
quick, one of the things that always amazed me is when I first got here, and I'm sure the change girls, my God, the amount of weight they carried.
Can you imagine?
I could not.
No, I know.
I could not.
Their backs must have been a wreck.
So whoever came up with the concept
Thank
of
heavens.
thank heavens. But the one thing I do miss in the casinos is the coins falling down, because now you get a ticket.
Oh, yes,
When you
I
win, you
know.
get that little. But
It was
like,
always lights were flashing on the slot machine. It was a fun place to grow up. And again, from the initial thinking my family took me to hell until starting school and realizing what a gift my parents had given me. And we really now, it's been my parents' generation, our generation, my children, and now my grandchildren, all a part of the Las Vegas community.
that's how I feel. Like I said, I've been here for 41 years. My husband and I have been married for those 41 years. We have a daughter. We have nephews. I have grandkids. So as well, I feel I'm cemented.
It's home.
It's home. It really
home.
is. And when people say, "Oh, Las Vegas," I'm like, "What problems do you have that the whole world doesn't have?"
Right,
We're in the
exactly.
same boat. We're a big city in a small town, if you want to consider it still that kind of mentality.
I feel very much at home here, and it's given me opportunities that I never would have had if we'd stayed in New York. So I am committed to this community. I love this city. I grew up in it, and it's given us opportunities we never would have had anyplace else.
No, and especially now that the Goodmans, God bless them, they've done an incredible job for all these years. But this is the first time, at least in my 41 years, that I don't see a Goodman on the ballot. And
Yes,
that
although
is
they have a son who's a justice of the
Peace.
So Eric. So
Eric.
I don't know if his term is up or he'll be on
horrible
again.
running, but we haven't seen anything. So
Well, it's
that's
a little
what.
early. I have to say and Oscar was president of Temple Beth Shalom when I was probably in my late teens or early 20s. So I've known them for decades. They have devoted their lives to the city of
Yes,
Las
they have.
Vegas. And Oscar told me fairly recently that it will be 25 years when Carolyn retires.
Okay.
They have never gone on vacation in the 25 years. They'll go for long weekends, and I know they've got a place in Coronado, but they have never taken a vacation. This is how committed they are to public service, and that's my brand of public service. You serve the public, not the other way around, and if you have put yourself forward to run for office, this is your job, and this is what you do. And so I'm very I admire that very much.
Well, let me just say I admire you because
thank
you're
you.
starting now a whole new political career.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Okay, going from the state level
I
type
was
thing
in
now
the
to
Nevada
going
State
into the
Assembly.
city
Yes.
is now more of a concentration. And we do have issues in our downtown area, as everybody knows.
All over the city.
All over.
All over the county, actually.
Exactly. And what do you see downtown, in your view, coming on?
Okay. In general, I believe that the next 10 years are going to be explosive for the city of Las Vegas. It's just in a very positive way. But as all of the successes that we have achieved over the 60 years that my family has been here, I think they will almost pale in comparison to what's coming. And as you know, and I recognize the difference, obviously, between the city and the county, but in general, people think of the entire Las Vegas Valley as
The
Las
city.
Vegas. We're going to get the A's. I believe in a few years we're going to get an NBA team. There are some of the most young, innovative, visionary developers in downtown Las Vegas. They are building and redesigning the city with incredible restaurants, incredible condominiums and high rises. It is going to be something to see. And I believe with Formula One and the Super Bowl and everything else that's happening here, the Sphere, which I haven't had the pleasure of going through yet, but
Neither have I, but I know.
It's wild. It's just wild. I mean, our community will continue to grow. There are certainly, we have tremendous opportunities for employment. And, for so many people, and let's take my parents, so that's one generation above me. Neither one of my parents graduated high school. My dad was a waiter. And again, we talked about on a waiter's salary what he was able to do to provide for his family. This is with so many immigrants coming to the Las Vegas Valley and so many people here that are first generation college goers. I mean, the world is our oyster. I mean, you get into a good job, you are able to support your families, your children go to college or learn a trade that's going to give them a good career for the rest of their lives. There's stability in the community, low unemployment. We've got to work on our health care as you know, health care is one of the issues I know a great deal about, but we need to ensure that all of our fellow citizens not only get a good paying job, but have access to health care for their families. Education, very important. Health care, very important. Quality of life issues, very important. And I am extremely optimistic and excited about leading the city into a new generation of excitement and interest and fun and success. And I think that—
And entrepreneurships.
Very much so. And, for so many of these young developers, I know their parents so well, and I've been to a number of their bar mitzvahs. And so now to see them so successful and sitting down and talking with them and seeing what their vision of Las Vegas is truly inspiring. And so here you've got kids, they're now adults, that are helping to develop and grow our community that were born here. A couple of generations ago, that simply did not happen. But we are still going to be attracting a lot of people from the outside. Why? Good jobs.
Good jobs. And then if you take a look at it, if you're definitely into the industry of gaming, hospitality, cooking, or, chef school and all that, UNLV has one of the best schools ever. And CSN has another great school. So we actually have the internal mechanism within our NSHE institutions to get these young people. And I'm a firm believer in that we have to introduce our youth, not in the 9th or 10th grade.
No.
We need to get them in the 7th and 8th to be prepared to look at career explorations, get ready for workforce development, get ready your interview skills, your resume. And those are things that the city has done a very good job with their SBI, the Summer Business Institute, your internship programs. So tell me a little bit more of how you would develop more of those programs within the city.
And I'm so glad that you brought up, you just, everything you said, I so relate to. My son, Sam, and remember, I'm the first person in my family to go to college.
So was I.
I know, it made all the difference in the world. UNLV might as well have been Harvard for me. It opened up an entire world that was not available to my grandparents who couldn't speak English, and my parents who worked very, very hard all their lives. UNLV, for me, it meant everything in the world. And then I went on to law school from UNLV.
At the time, we didn't have Sam Boyd School of Law. If not, you would have been a graduate.
Well, I was actually, this is so funny. I was student body president of UNLV, and they put me on the committee to explore the opportunity of bringing a law school to UNLV. And then, of course, I was on the committee, and then I graduated, went on to law school, interned, which is very important to provide those internship jobs for Senator Howard Cannon in Washington, D.C., which when I was there, I realized this is what I want to do. So that's why those internship programs are so important. But when I came back, I went to law school and then came back, of course, to practice. My son. I went away, and when I came back and was appointed to the Board of Regents 20 years later, they were still talking about bringing a law school. So they put me on the same committee. And I vowed when I was on the Board of Regents, I would not leave until we actually had a law school here at UNLV. And then to make matters more personal, 20 years after that, my son Max graduated from the Boyd School of Law, and now he's at the Public Defender's Office. My son Sam, and this is to punctuate what you said about the School of Hospitality, my son Sam graduated from the school, and he worked at a number of the hotels when he first got out of school. And again, those internship programs on the Strip are so invaluable. He was a Wynn Junior Scholar, and then he was over at Caesars. They gave him his first job after he interned and after he graduated. But Sam has been at Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits now for about 10 years, and he has a remarkable career. So all of us, me and my children, all benefited from UNLV. It is exactly what it's intended to do.
I so relate to all of that.
I know
because
you do.
I was the first college graduate in my family, and my mom didn't get to see me, but she was there. George, my nephew, is also a UNLV grad. All my family, except our daughter, ran with the pack. But, at the time I was working at UNLV and she was at UNR. But it was okay because she was at UNR.
Absolutely.
And the most important
thing. And it's
a
great school.
Exactly.
I love UNR.
And the most important thing, what I always said, whether it's a 2-year, 4-year, or a 3, 6, or 12-month certification, find what your niche is.
Yes.
And once you get it, then you know what you have to do to keep on moving up.
Exactly. And you get a taste of it, and you might want to do more.
Exactly.
So, and look at the community college. And again, I was on the Board of Regents for 8 years. I know education in this state. Even look at the community college system. I mean, what it is providing for our fellow citizens. I mean, who may be working full time, who may be raising families, particularly women who are single moms. Getting that education at our community college is vital to their future success. And so I'm just thrilled about our community college system. Our 2 universities are superb.
Nevada State University now.
Yes.
I remember
so
when
nice.
Nevada State College opened, we were all like, please let it stay open, please.
Yes.
Every legislative session, we're crossing our fingers for our brothers and sisters that were working there.
Doing so well.
It is.
And UNLV School of Medicine, when I was CEO and Senior Provost at Touro, we worked very closely with the school. There's plenty of room for everybody because the need is so
Let
great.
me just say, I've mentored, a lot of young people throughout. I actually mentored Dr. Doris Chan, who is a young lady that I met in the 10th grade through the Summer Business Institute. And at that time, that young lady told me, I'm going to become a doctor. And sure enough, mind you, she graduated. She was the first graduating class from Kokoria Medical School.
Oh, that is
this
great.
past year or so. And now she's in Cali doing her practice or whatever it is. Residency, that's it.
Residency.
So I know exactly. And again, that's a young lady of Chinese descent, first college graduate. She's a doctor, and she'll be back. I told her, please do not stay in Cali.
Right.
Because one of the things that we lose to a lot of other states and cities is our talent. They go out there and then somehow or some way we have to entice them to come back.
Well, what we need to do is keep them here after med school. We do not have a medical student shortage. We've got UNLV, UNR, Touro's now graduating 180 students. If Rosamond finally gets approval, there'll be more medical students. We have a huge physician shortage, but how we could solve that is by creating more residency programs here in Nevada. The statistic is this: 70% of doctors end up practicing where they do their residency.
Exactly.
We don't have enough of them. No. So we are actually educating a whole lot of future doctors to go practice someplace else when the greatest need in the country is right here in the state of Nevada. How silly is that?
Well, that's what I will depend on you when you become mayor, is how do we connect those dots? How do we put the puzzle together? And that'll be something that I'm sure that will be on your list to do.
Absolutely.
Along with healthcare, education.
And economic growth and development. You know, I have a gaming background because I worked at the Sands, of course, for almost 9 years. So I know gaming. And let's face it, gaming is still the
our number one
economic engine that drives everything else. However, for the last 10 years, I've been a board member of the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance. And it's such a great organization. But the mission is to attract other businesses, diversify our economy so we're not so dependent on gaming.
Growing what they call the business sectors.
Yes.
So we have to grow the mining, we have to grow the entertainment, we have to grow the business and industry portion of it.
And bring
Health.
in companies that will have good paying jobs for our fellow citizens. So I recognize the importance of the gaming industry. I love the gaming industry. But I also know that we need to diversify our economy, and I'm wedded to do that.
Wow. Shelly, I am so excited that you're on the ballot. You bring a lot of generational, it's what I call generational knowledge. And that's what I've been referred to lately. And at first I was like,
yeah, I'm several generations
that's a compliment.
Myself.
That's a compliment, because what you have up here, we can talk about it, we can teach it, but it takes that passion. It takes
Which
that.
I still have.
Exactly.
And I believe in public service. You know, I had given Toro 1 year notice last July. I said, look, I'll give another year, but then I'm retiring. But after about 6 months ago, people started talking to me about possibly running for mayor when Carolyn retires. And I started thinking, you know, what do I love? Because I think you should do what you love for as long as you can. And I recognize that what my true love and passion is public service. So that's when I decided that I would run for mayor. And after I made the decision, because it took a while to come to that point.
And talk to your family.
Oh, yes, because they had to buy in. If your family doesn't buy into it, because it is, no matter what, and now all my children are married with children of their own, but the reality is this is a family endeavor, and everybody was very supportive. And so once I thought, I'm doing this, everything fell into place, and it just felt right. Yeah, it felt right. No. And I think the response of the community has been, I think it's validated my decision. Everyone seems genuinely excited.
Well, you bring so much to the table as far as your experience to the mayor, because like I've always said, from the first time that Mayor Laverty Jones was on TV on Channel 13 on Good Morning America, because she had a gym in her office. Do you remember that?
She's one of my closest friends, so I do know her.
Ever since that day, our mayors have been in the spotlight.
Yes, they are.
Nationally.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
because
and that's something
the Strip is the Strip.
Yes.
I get it. But the city of Las Vegas, downtown Vegas, and people refer to it as Old Vegas. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever.
Right,
those are the tourists. But downtown is still the epitome of what Las Vegas is and was.
Yes, I agree. Very exciting. And, I'll tell you a quick Jan story. I grew up in an era with Athalia Dondero and all of these women.
Oh, my God, Athalia. Oh, my God, that's another name,
A lot of names of people that, they were all pioneers because there were very few women in office. And so I was dressed, when I started running for office, I dressed very conservatively, and dressed
there were
below
certain
the
rules,
knee,
pantyhose,
and you followed them.
No open-toe shoes.
Exactly. And then I think I was on the Board of Regents, and Jan was the mayor, and I saw her one day at an event, and she was just so glamorous, and she was wearing gold shoes and a short skirt, and I looked at that, and I thought, Yes, why not?
Why can't we be
And
fashionable?
now I wear gold shoes and try. Of course, the way I dressed evolved over time. But oh my
Okay,
God,
so
she
bringing
was my
bringing
inspiration.
that into point, can you bring your purse over here so we can show
Oh my heavens,
that beautiful purse?
I guess. Do you want to get it for me? Oh, thank you. Okay, first of all, this is a fabulous purse, but it's a girlfriend of mine who lives in Maryland makes these purses.
They're
I don't know
gorgeous.
if you could see them, but
Yes,
it's
you can.
just- and then it
in
says
the back, Queen of
Queen of
Fabulous.
Las
I love
Vegas.
it. And then
And
inside,
you can personalize it if you wish to, and she did this for me.
Oh.
And it says in chips, of course, Shelly. And so I just love this purse.
that is Las Vegas.
It's beautifully done.
And I'm sure now you wear it to events, and people, the first thing they look at is, "Oh my
do.
God, I love
know.
your purse."
People have been noticing this. Whenever I wear it, people get excited. I understand she also makes it in black, but I kind of thought for the summertime.
Yeah,
white
no,
was
that is beautiful.
perfect.
So
But thank you
actually,
for
we have to
noticing.
thank Mayor Laverty Jones for spritzing up the fashion.
Well,
and
she spritzed me up, that's for sure.
you know, it's funny you say that. I started with the state of Nevada in 1993,
Uh-huh.
and I believe it was Governor Miller.
Sure.
Okay.
That's 20 years ago. Can you believe
Over,
that?
yeah, or before that, because I retired with 27 years. But anyways, to make a long story short, the same rules applied. Pantyhose, all these, no flashy colors. Well, first of all, being Cuban American, I've always
Have a little style.
I have a little bit of color. I've always
Pizzazz.
I've always had my lips in red. And when I retired, this one lady that was a member of one of the committees that I staffed, she goes, "The one thing I'm going to miss the most, Odie, is your red lips at every meeting, just like I'm here."
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
thought, thank you.
Yeah,
Because it
exactly.
shouldn't be that we should be blah, blah, blah.
No,
We
I
are
think-
still women, and we are still liking fashion and makeup. So politics shouldn't make us dress in black, blue, brown.
Yes.
And did I miss another dark color?
Yeah,
Gray.
yeah. What was when there was I needed money because my dad was
Mm-hmm.
a waiter. I was invited to the junior prom. I needed money to get a gown, and so I was working part-time at the old Broadway at the Boulevard.
Oh, God.
And it was black, brown, navy, gray, and beige, the Broadway colors. And you had to show up to work with the clear purse so they could see what you have in there, and you had to be dressed in one of those colors. And that was accepted, and frankly, didn't even question it at the time. I needed money in order to buy a gown for the junior prom. And if that's what it took to do it,
no
that's what I
problem.
was doing. Black, brown, navy, gray, and beige, the
Yeah,
Broadway colors.
those were the colors. That was
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
So-
Yep. Things have changed.
Yes, they have. Well, Shelly, thank you so much for coming on to the show today. I appreciate the conversation was great. The history, my gosh, it's amazing. And again, Shelly Berkeley for mayor of Las Vegas.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to reminisce with you and talk about the future.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Ori Carmona, abogados con experiencia, accidentes, caídas, mordidas de perro, cualquier cosa, cualquier accidente, por favor, llame a Abogados con Experiencia, 702-999-0000. Odi Carmona, gracias.